Put your hands together one more time. Our next speaker say that her superpower will be teleportation, and it will be because she is a bit impatient. She's been patiently waiting to be the last speaker of the night. So please give her a big round of applause.
Once upon a time, there was a world that was filled with good people. And they lived really good lives, small lives, focused on the people around them and celebrating the milestones that came along their way. The outside world was really scary, but it didn't have a lot of effect on their good life. And so what did it really matter what was happening in the countries far away or in the wars that mostly didn't affect them? And so it was in this good world that one day a great and mighty magician comes with terrible news that this old heirloom of a friend of theirs who had been using a ring of great power as a way to get rid of inconvenient relatives or out of uncomfortable situations was actually the key to a terrible new war that was brewing on their horizon. And with it came the truth that their good and simple life that they had been living came at the cost of people far, far away. Now, when I was asked to talk at this great cause, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien was the series that came to mind for me. Much has been said and written about the message of this whole series and its imagery and the politics around it, but at its heart, this series is about how a small group of dedicated people can change the entire world. And this is something that I believe with my whole heart, that all it takes to turn the tides of authoritarianism, of repression and oppression and of cruelty is for every small, good person to look up and out at the world around them and to realize the cost of everything that they have. And maybe more importantly, the cost of what it would be if they didn't take action. Okay, I love nonfiction, and I do believe it is very important, but it is only in fiction that I can be tricked into seeing myself. Sometimes with nonfiction, it is laid out so starkly that I have a really hard time tricking myself into seeing it. But with fiction, I can be lulled into it. Maybe I'm alone in that, but I have to be coaxed sometimes. I have read this series upwards of 50 times, and the movies probably as many times, extended version only. And while it sounds crazy, every single time I am moved by the possibilities of good people doing hard work against impossible odds. All right, I first read this series when I was a 5th grader. My dad gave me his books. They're from the 1970s. They are very precious to me now. And I go back to them often when I need encouragement. I learned so many lessons from them, and I just want to highlight a few. The first is that we can't give in to fear. Yes, fear has a purpose, right? Fear is there to keep us from doing incredibly stupid things. But I have also seen fear hold people back. Because fear says, what if? Fear says, what if this doesn't work? What if you fail? What if this doesn't happen? And so often I see people lead from a no, when instead they need to lean into the hope and the possibility of what could be. This series is the series that gave me the courage to study abroad in Bangkok when I was in college. It's why I said yes to my wonderful husband. It's why we said yes to becoming foster parents. It's why I said yes to becoming a pastor, and it's why I said yes when our church building was offered and asked to be opened up to people who don't have a place to stay during terribly cold and dangerous conditions. The list of decisions that this series, that a lot of us dismiss as fantasy, has influenced in my life are innumerable. And I love the message of it. The second thing that it reminds me of is that even people who have made stupid mistakes can be redeemed. I'm talking about Boromir, if you know the series. This is a man who sought power, who thought that the power that was in front of him could be used to save his kingdom, could save his family. And he didn't see how that power was going to corrupt him. Ultimately, at the very end, I hope this isn't a spoiler, he makes the right decision, and he ends up making sure that the ring goes along its path so that eventually it will be destroyed. When it counted, this man was given a second chance, and he chose the right thing. He overcame his fear, and he found his courage. The third lesson I learned is that authoritarianism is always wrong. Now, Tolkien is writing after World War II, and so, we can see the message is very clear. But sometimes it is so seductive to think that this time, in this place, with this issue, it's going to be okay. But his message is very, very clear. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, and this is the energy that I bring into my pulpit every Sunday, is that every single one of us is needed. Every single one of us living our good and simple lives is needed if we are going to turn the tide. If we want to live in a world with thriving and healthy people, who have thriving and healthy relationships, who live in thriving and healthy communities, then we are all needed. Now, at the very, very end, which again, I hope I'm not spoiling, or if I am, go read them or watch the movies. They're amazing. It is a simple gardener who ensures that the world is saved. I'm talking about Samwise Gamgee. It's not the gentleman he serves, or the cute elf, or the handsome king, or the mighty and powerful magician who from the stars. No, it is a gardener who makes sure that the world stays in the good place that he knows it can be. Every single one of us is needed, especially those of us who are closest to the earth, just like Samwise. He is the one that had the steadiness to finish the fight. He would have never said he was important in a world of kings and elf princes and dwarf lords and of magicians, but he was the linchpin. It was his steadiness, his resolve, his ability to put one foot after the other, even when everyone else had lost hope, even when it looked bleak. His normality, that was his greatest strength. So I return to this series often when I need encouragement, to be reminded that there is goodness, and that our goodness can overcome the power that other people have of hatred and oppression. So in a world that feels very scary right now, I want you to remember you aren't alone. And wherever it is that gives you joy, whether that's a TV show about a dysfunctional recreation department, or a crazy office, or maybe a series about the love of queer hockey players, or a romance that's finding a way, or a nonfiction book that stirs you, or a biography that inspires you, I hope you read it over and over again, because we need to remember that small groups of people have changed the world before, and not just can, but will again.